Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to hang out with you for a little bit. Today I'm going to be sharing a technique with you. It's colorful and it's quick and it's fun. I just love doing all these types of different techniques, and I guess you could call this like a stamping 101, so that hopefully you can learn some really great tips and tricks today to go along with the technique that I'm going to share with you. My name is Julia, and I am with Julia Sue's Stamping. I'm passionate about stamping and coloring, paper crafting, and making cards. Most of all, I'm passionate about sharing the fun of doing all of that with you. So again, thank you for coming here. If this is your first time, then welcome. I'm really glad you found the channel. And if you have been here before, then welcome back. It's really great to hang out with you. I live in Northeast Ohio, and I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So everything I use is Stampin' Up! And I think we should just get started. What do you think? Are you ready? Let's go. When you do the watercolor wash, it's kind of like giving your paper a spa day. And who doesn't love a good spa day, right? The things that I'm going to use, I'll bring in right now. The first thing I'm going to be using are watercolor painters from Stampin' Up! They come in a package of 3. One is a wide brush. That's what we're going to be using today. And it also has 2 other types of tips. One is a bigger one for a brush type, and one is a smaller type of brush tip. It's a skinnier one. See, it's a bit smaller. So those are the painters that we'll be using, and I'm going to be using the wide one today, and they come in this really great package of 3. The stamp set is the Sweetly Scripted. I tend to need a lot of birthday cards apparently, so that's what I'm going to be making today, is a birthday card with this happy birthday. And then the colors. So I am using some real red, some basic white, and that's it for this card. And then we have the dies. So I've got the deckled rectangular dies. This is the 3rd from the largest. And then the changing leaves dies. So they coordinate with the changing leaves stamp set. There's also an embossing folder. I'm going to be using this for the sentiment and this to decorate the front of the card. So let's move on to the card. I have different inks that will be used, and the first one is a real red. I've got Calypso Coral and Petunia Pop. The reason I chose these colors was that they are in the Stampin' Up! Catalog and known as analogous colors. So right here it has the real red, the Calypso Coral, and the Petunia Pop listed as some suggestions of choosing 3 colors that are side by side on the color wheel that Stampin' Up! Has provided. There's a color wheel right here, and you can see I have it marked because I refer to this a lot. And it's great because they have all their colors listed, and it's easy to choose some of the colors using different color theories. And the one that I'm choosing today is the analogous. And so like I said, the real red, Calypso Coral, and Petunia Pop. The colors are side by side on the color wheel, and these color neighbors work really well together. It creates harmony and balance. To get that started, you want to squeeze the ink pad to make a well of color. So squeezing them and then opening it up so that there's a well of color in there. All right, so I have all 3 colors down, and now I'm going to bring in something to help cover my work surface, because otherwise it's wet. You're using watercolors. So I have the watercolor paper here, and it is a good size to use on this. And I have filled the water painter with water. You can also use rubbing alcohol if you like, but if I was using rubbing alcohol, I wouldn't continue to keep putting it into the colors. You want to start with the lightest color and go to the darkest color. The Petunia Pop and the Calypso Coral are very similar in the lightness of colors, so I think you can just choose whichever one you want. And we're going to start with a tip number 1, which is to pre-wet the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the painter, and then I'm going to start getting some water out. And I'm pre-wetting the paper, getting all of the watercolor paper wet. And the nice thing about using the water painters is you do not need to have a bowl or a glass of water nearby. It's all self-contained. So it's all in there. And when you go ahead and get your water paper wet, your watercolor paper wet, it helps the colors glide on smoothly and blend like a dream. So we're going to layer the colors next. I think I'll start with the Petunia Pop and get a little bit of the water into that well, as you can see. And now I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go the same direction to layer the color in. And I'm starting with the lightest, and I'm going to work my way to the darker shade. It's kind of like building a delicious cake, except with colors and less calories. So spread that in, and then I can go to the next color without worrying about wiping it off because it's lighter to the darker. Helps blend it right in together. And I'm using the flat brush because it's your best friend for even coverage when you're doing something like this. I'm sweeping the colors across in one direction, and it's kind of like when you're brushing your hair, except there aren't any tangles. It's just nice, smooth, beautiful color. Now I'm going to put a little bit of water into the red as well and start blending that in. Now, if I do want to get it off, I'm using this rag. You could use a paper towel if you wanted to. Get some extra water out and then just dry off the bristles. Get the bristles so they don't have that color in. And then I'm going to blend in the coral in with the red there. And what I'd like to do is go ahead and put a little bit more of the Petunia Pop in. Right here at the bottom, blending that in with that real red. Brushing it in. Making it all smooth and going the one direction, mostly. All right, blending it. Oh my goodness, I think that's so pretty. And you can layer it, add a little bit more if you want. Put more water in, layer the colors. They do dry lighter than when you put them on. There. I really like that. I think this color is so pretty. Layering a little bit more of the Calypso in and blending it in with the Petunia Pop up there. Good. Okay. All right. Excellent. Now, when you're done, you need to let it dry. It would take about 30 minutes or so for the watercolor paper to dry here. And if you want to speed up the process, you can always grab a heat tool and use that. That's what I usually do because I simply don't seem to have the patience to let the watercolor paper just dry on its own. I should try that, but I end up always, every single time, using my heat tool. All you do then is you simply close up your inks, and they're going to be just fine, ready for you to use the next time you want to use them. And that's that for the watercolor part. So you let it dry, and then once it's dry, what I did was I used the third from the largest rectangular deckled rectangle and cut out the shape that I wanted with the watercolor wash that has been done to it. And then we're going to go ahead and put the card together. So I've got some of the thick white cardstock. I will have all the measurements and everything listed on my blog, so please check that out. But this is your regular size of paper, and then it has been scored in half. So I'm using the bone folder, and I'm going to go ahead and make that score line nice and tight. And I've got a piece of the Real Red that I'm going to use to surround my watercolor paper. I'm going to put a little bit of adhesive on it. Now, if you tend to like using the glue, you can do that instead. I am a big fan of tape rollers. So place that down, and now the watercolor paper goes right on top. Get that on. And I try to challenge myself with using different colors all the time. I try not to always use blues and greens, and today I decided I needed to get something really bright pop with some red out there, so that is one of the reasons why I chose this red today. So this piece is going to go on the inside to help decorate the inside of the card, with a piece of basic white on top so that we have plenty of room to write to whoever is the recipient of our card. So watercolor wash, just such a pretty element on top. I have a scrap of the Real Red and a scrap of the white. I'm going to stamp the sentiment with a Memento Tuxedo Black onto the white scrap. And I'm doing happy birthday because I have a lot of birthdays this month going out. So just simply stamp that down. And now what I'm going to do is have the sentiment piece here. I tape it using a little bit of a Post-it note tape. Run it through the cut and emboss machine, and come out with the sentiment like so. And then with the Real Red, I'm going to use these leaves and run those through the cut and emboss machine to end up with these right here. So now I'm going to go ahead and decorate with these elements using a little bit of the glue. So a little bit of the glue, and I am not using much. I just scrape it along the cardstock, and mostly I go down the middle, and then I go along the sides just a tiny bit, leaving myself somewhere to hold on to it. Turning it over, and I'm going to lay it down, I think right around here would be good. There. And now for this piece, you could also use adhesive sheet on the back of these if you wanted instead of using glue. But the glue is pretty quick. And moving my fingers out of the way so I can get a little bit of the adhesive on this side here. And I'm having it overlap out to the outside into the white. And now some dimensionals to lift up the sentiment. So I'll bring those in. Removing the paper backing and then placing the sentiment down. And I think that looks straight. And that's it. How pretty is that, right? Oh my goodness, I love this card. And then the inside, and it's so easy, but yet you've got your beautiful piece of the color washing in there, and it's sure to impress. So whether you're sending it to a friend or just having some fun with it, remember that crafting is all about having fun, experimenting, and maybe get a little messy. I made this example here, using blueberry bushel. Nope, I'm wrong. Here we go. Okay, I'll get it right. I made this one with the Azure Afternoon. It took me a minute. The Azure Afternoon, and I've got a Blackberry Bliss in the middle of it, and then also the Fresh Freesia. So you can see how we've got the Fresh Freesia here on the bottom, and I used black cardstock to surround it, and on the inside, for a fun pop of color, the Azure Afternoon. So exact same layout, but different colors. And how much fun is that? And then this one right here, exact same color washing technique with a blueberry bushel. We've got Summer Splash in there and Old Olive. So just using the analogous colors, putting everything close together that are on the color wheel, with a blueberry bushel around the outside of that inside as well. So great, fun, easy birthday cards to send out. All right, so, and there you have it. That's it. A stunning watercolor wash card that's sure to impress. I would really appreciate it to, you got some tips and tricks in there. Please give the video a thumbs up, and subscribe or follow my channel, my page. I really appreciate your support of my small business. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you choose to use me, thank you. I really appreciate your support of my small business. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you, or if you have any questions. I hope you have a fabulous day and that you have an opportunity to get inky today. Bye-bye.